assessment of the game from your side, how the game went for you. And also you had 6 debutants. If you could spare a couple of words about them, how did you like their game? And it was the first captaincy for Casey, so if you could make an assessment of these aspects. And what were the weak sides for you in the Georgian team?
Right. Yeah, I thought it was a really good performance by us. We're very happy. We've been following Georgia for a few years. I've coached against Georgia under 20s level, and I've lost to them. I played in the World Cup game in 2007 when we nearly lost to them. I know their coaches are good friends with Roddy Grant, so I'd be very aware of how good a team they are and how much they've been developing. I've seen their results in the last few years, and potentially, this was going to be the biggest game of some of these players' lives if they'd beaten us. So we were really conscious of how tough it was going to be. We probably prepared for a certain type of conditions for the last 2 weeks, and unfortunately today it ended up with different type of conditions, and that's probably the most pleasing part of the performance for us, is that our halfbacks and the leadership in the team were able to just flick a switch and change the plan and deliver a really accurate plan given the conditions we had. So we were delighted with that. I loved the intent the players played with. I loved the hunger they played with. I loved how tough they were, and I loved how accurate they were in that as well. In terms of our new caps, it's exciting because we actually haven't had a massive amount of injuries with Ireland in the last years. Sometimes you need an injury for someone to get a chance. So for the team to have done so well, to allow so many players to go on the lines, to give these players an opportunity is brilliant for us. And they all have a story to tell. Tommy O'Brien played against Georgia I think it was 2018 as an under-20 player. He's been through a lot of stuff with injuries. Other guys have had to move province to try and get game time. They've been through a lot to try and get their opportunity. So, all the playing group were delighted for them in there. But there's other guys in there that just have been dying for a chance as well, that did really well. Other guys, I suppose, have had a chance to flourish maybe as leaders because some of the other more established leaders have been gone. So from that point of view, it's been a great development opportunity for us. In terms of the Georgian team, it's funny, when you get ahead in those conditions, it's a massive advantage because the other team has to chase a little bit. We went 14-0 up, and that's a big advantage in those conditions. I thought Georgia did really well through their scrum, through a few penalties to get back down. They scored a maul try against us, and at half time it was very tight, and luckily for us we scored a fantastic try after half time, and I think it really steadied the ship for us and we were able to pull away from that.
What was going on in the scrum seemed to be kind of tit for tat earlier. They got on top then, and I presume you absolutely welcome that young Irish front row getting such a test like that over here.
Yeah, it's a brilliant test for them, and there'll be a load of learning from it. It was hard to figure out exactly what was going on. There was a mixture of, sometimes it's all one thing. There was a mixture of things going on, like Tom Clarkson was backing for his bind at one stage and got penalised. So fair play to Colin. They did a look at a few scrums at half time, and they had a chat and they solved it, which is which is what you want from a coach, but it's what you want from players as well, to be such a confrontational part of the game, to be able to be clear-minded enough to come up with a solution and deliver it. So I thought they did really well in that regard.
As a player in 2007 World Cup, and honestly at that time, let's be honest, nobody really knew about Georgian rugby, pretty much anything. And now as a head coach, coaching the team against Georgia, let's say how far apart and how different those two Georgias are, if you look from today's perspective. Maybe it's a less of a rugby question, but still your opinion would be very interesting.
It's hard to tell. I think one of the things that countries like Georgia do well is they come together as a team for World Cups. They get time together time with good coaches, time to build a bit of a mentality, and we've had a 2-week preparation window, but we're a pretty small country, so we get to spend a lot of time together. We get a Six Nations window together, we get a November window together, we get a summer window together, we take young players on the Emerging Ireland tour, so time together makes a big difference to us, and I think that's what will make a difference to Georgia is getting time together. I know their coaches, they've really good coaches. Time together with good coaches. You see it at World Cups when Georgia have time together, they perform really well. And that's the same for anything else. Getting time with your players, getting games with your players, that's when they get better. When you get a game, you review a game, they go again. You get a game, you review a game, and you go again. That's when they get better. We've good contact with them in the provinces as well, which maybe you don't have, and I think that's a point of difference for us, which is having chatted to your coaches on Thursday night is something they're trying to figure out as well.
Craig, congrats. Where does captaining your country to make sure you're away from home at this ranking in your career?
Certainly up there, yeah. Very nice feeling in that dressing room afterwards. Building all week, I suppose. Winning is the most important thing, especially as a captain, I think, and certainly a nice feeling next door. So, rank side.
You talked about yesterday the importance of yourself and Sam controlling the game. You must have been pleased with how you did that for the most part. Quickly after half-time.
Yeah, very happy. I think, look, we probably knew that the weather wasn't going to be the way we wanted it to be yesterday, so we kind of prepped both ways and had conversations, and I think we did it fairly well. I think Sammy's kicking was class, contestable wise, and the two boys that came on, I think, did a very good job as well. And we just talked about finding kick space and putting them under pressure, and I think we did that, yeah.
How did you find the whole experience as captain, like particularly today? Like, were you any extra nervous than you would be normally?
Loved it. I think it's a good question, really. I suppose there is a tiny bit of extra nerves, but I think I kind of parked the captaincy thing on Tuesday and just focused on my performance everywhere after that, because I think that was the main thing for me, is showing people the way, but also putting my performance onto the pitch. I think that's the biggest thing as a captain. You've got to perform. So parked all the kind of captaincy nerves and all the prep and stuff, and had all my prep ticked off by Tuesday, and then just focused on me kind of hitting the ground running.
Talk to us through the try. Started with two of your Munster teammates, Gavin and Calvin, and then Ryan, who the two of you played all the way up through, throws the offload at the end. What was kind of going through your head?
It was class, yeah. Scraps first by Gav, then a class offload, and then Calvin uses his kind of pace, and he has plenty of that, and Berda does an unbelievable job of getting the inside. And I suppose any good nine is trying to pick up those inside support lines, and I was hoping Berda was going to pass me the ball at one stage. I thought he wasn't, and I would have been cursing him, but thankfully he did, and it ended up being a class try. But I think it happened at a really important time for us. Just after half time, we talked about how strong probably they would have started, and to get a try and then a penalty after that kind of, I think, calmed us down, but also kind of took control of the game from there on in. But it was a lovely feeling.
Yeah, just quickly, you talk about the six evidence, like what did you do around that? How did you mark it? Like Tommy O'Brien, dream start for him, it's like the opening 8 minutes.
Yeah, savage. I think we had a meeting Thursday night where a few players got up and spoke about each debutant, and then they had videos from their family at home. It's a nice tradition that we've kind of started a few years ago. Faz kind of kicked it off, and I think it's a really, really nice way to kind of mark a special week, because it is exactly that. It's a really special week for them, their families. I think they put an awful lot of work in, so it would be wrong of us just to kind of bypass that and think it's another game for them, because it isn't. Making your first cap is very, very special. So there was that on Thursday night. I think that kind of creates a good feeling in the group, and then just mentioned it again last night, again in a meeting, just about how special it is, but also the rest of us that have played and the rest of us in the squad need to drag that on and make it an even more special day for their families that are over here, and also watching at home, and kind of show how much it means to us that they're fitting in the group. And I think you saw from all of them they fit in unbelievably well, and that was exactly what we wanted. I thought everyone kind of pulling along and letting them do what they do, and thankfully it worked out.